Hey, care partners, Teresa Youngstrom with a better approach to memory care. This is Memory Care with Teresa Youngstrom. I'm so glad you're here. Today we've got a wonderful topic that, of course, pertains to dementia care since that's what I do for a living. I'm a dementia specialist, and I fell in love with people struggling with dementia when my mom got dementia and kicked me out of the blankety blank house. And it changed everything because now it was personal and I needed to figure out why she did what she did. And you know what? We figured it out in a lot of respects. And I tell you what, then I have the privilege now of sharing the results of all my mistakes with many of you all over the world and all over the US and beyond. So it's pretty exciting. Thank you for joining us today on my podcast. I hope that you'll like and subscribe and share this because there are a lot of other people struggling to figure out why their loved one does what they do what they do in the heat of the moment especially, and there are better ways to care for people with brain failures. So today we're going to talk about when the disease has progressed to the point where maybe you don't have capabilities to maybe even feed yourself. I mean, did you know that on your hand, you have skill fingers and strength fingers. What's that? Skill fingers, strength fingers? Well, I learned about this. And you know what the interesting thing is that it seems that people who develop brain failures, they tend to lose their skill fingers. Huh. Well, what do we use skill fingers for? So let me ask you a question. Think about this. What would you use, skill fingers or strength fingers to open the jar of pickles? Mm, Well, you better have some strength fingers in there. Otherwise, I don't think you're going to do it with this, are you? Okay, what about brushing your teeth? Well, it'd be awkward with just strength, but I think probably that's something that needs some dexterity and you probably need skill fingers. What about using your fork or spoon or knife? Yeah, I guess definitely we're using skill fingers, aren't we? All right. So let's talk about something. As brains fail, we typically see if individuals live to the point where their brain is still failing and they still need to be able to feed themselves, that we sometimes have folks who you might deem, oh, they don't want to eat anymore. They're not eating anymore. Or you might see them start using their fingers to eat, to like finger food. And sometimes people will just go ahead and give them finger food. And that's okay if that works. But what are you going to do when, for example, my mother wouldn't let me wash her face? That was just no, no, no. And I mean, it became a fight if you kept moving in. So thank goodness for hand under hand technique. This is something Teepa Snow taught me. Teepa Snow is remarkable. All right. She's known worldwide. And good luck if you want her to come speak at your at your location in the next 12 to 16 months because it's not going to happen. She is booked. She's incredible and she's known all over the world. She's an amazing seasoned occupational therapist that turned into an amazing dementia specialist. And this is what she does, her company's positive approach to care. So when I get big problems, guess where I go? Well, just so you know, I'm certified under TIPA as an independent trainer, and I always will be because she's got the corner on so much great information and the new and greatest things coming about. So I'm definitely plugged in, so to speak. But this was a technique, hand under hand, came about when you run into trouble with folks not being able to use their skill fingers. My mother would not let me wash her face. But there's a technique called hand under hand where you actually get that person's hand inside your hand, kind of like coming in for a handshake. And the reason handshake works so well is because, well, let me see. If I put my hand out to you, is that your language and cognition telling you whether to take my hand, or is it kind of knee jerk for individuals my age and above just to automatically then they put their hand out, kind of a reflex? Muscle memory. What's that? Muscle memory. Oh, so you're saying you might automatically do that. Well, that's cool. Because guess what? If I'm coming in to care for you and I'm going to approach from the front, right? You don't have peripheral vision, so I'm always going to approach from the front. I'm going to stop my 6 feet out. That's Teepa Snow's positive physical approach technique. And you come in, and I'm going to wait until you acknowledge me to touch you. But you know what? You can really jumpstart the touch part if I just put my hand out and you respond in a positive way by putting your hand out because you just granted me permission to touch you. What's that? Yes, you gave me permission to touch you. And I'm going to come in with a handshake, but we change the handshake up a little bit. We come in with the handshake, but then we do the cool handshake, and then we allow one person's hand to be on top of the other person. So as the person coming in is the caregiver, my hand's underneath and your hand's on top. Who feels like they're in control? You do. Right. It's a really great technique. And so I'm going to give you a couple of examples when decline really becomes serious and maybe you can no longer feed yourself. Because I've seen individuals that if you come in, let's say you got your scuba mask on, right? You've lost peripheral vision, you can't see, you're like this. And then someone's coming in with that spoon trying to feed you and poking you in the mouth. And what do you think? You're not sure what that is. And by golly, you're dodging it all over and maybe even push them away for poking you in the face. It's not very comfortable. But Teepa came up with this wonderful hand under hand because when I've got your hand in my hand, my skill fingers are still available, which means I can hold the spoon or the fork. I can hold the hairbrush or the toothbrush. How about that? With my mom, I could hold the washcloth. And then I rested my hand on her shoulder or under her elbow for support. And it's a completely different motion to have my hand coming in with your hand that's connected to your arm, that's connected to your shoulder, it's connected to your brain because you know when this is coming in. And it's amazing to watch individuals because like my mom, I would say, "Mom, go ahead and wash your face while we're getting started." And I'd let her think she was doing it. Of course, my hand was there and I'm turning the washcloth and getting it warm again. And I'm telling her, "Oh, down here, miss that little bit of spaghetti on your chin from last night." And we'd have fun with it. But she would never let me wash her face unless she thought she was doing it. Just like there are individuals who won't eat either if you're just poking them in the face with a straw or with a spoon. So we're going to show you an example. I have a video here, right? Stepping out. I have a video of Teepa working with an individual at a nursing home who wasn't eating anymore, and she'd lost so much weight, and they were hoping Teepa had some technique that could help them get this woman to be able to eat. And it's very remarkable because I just think we make big mistakes of writing folks off with brain failure. And just because maybe they don't open their eyes a lot, maybe because they don't interact a lot, maybe they can't talk anymore, but they're in there. Okay. Teepa will call that the Pearl stage. And someday we'll do the Gem series and I'll tell you more about that. But think about a pearl. Where do you find a pearl? Oh, it's inside a crusty shell, isn't it? So even though things on the outside might not look so great, there's still something very precious and fragile inside. And at that pearl stage of the disease, they're in there. Just are you going to be fortunate enough or have the skill to get them to open the shell enough for you to be able to see them for a minute. So this is a really cool video of Teepa working with this wonderful woman whose eyes are closed, and showing a caregiver how to give better care. All right, let me bring this up. Hopefully.
You got it. Here we go.
Okay, now if you will go forward.
That was good.
There you go.
It's so hard with my mouth that big.
Yum. It's because her hand is coming to her mouth versus you poking her in the mouth with your spoon. And her brain going, whoa, what's that? Oh, wait a minute. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay. And this is like, oh, okay, I'm eating. Got it.
So what I was doing in this conversation is they were trying to feed her rather than assist her with eating. And what was happening, I watched them try this. She was back in the chair a little bit, which you'll see in a second, but they would take the spoon and they would try to get it in her mouth. And if she wouldn't open her mouth, they would chase her with the spoon a little bit because they were trying to get her to open her mouth. And they knew if they could get her to open her mouth once, they could get the food started in. And then if she took a little nibble of food, sometimes she'd take another nibble of food. And it became this struggle to get her to accept anything in her mouth. And what they were doing is just bringing the spoon to her mouth, bringing the spoon to her mouth. What do you notice about Lucille's eyes when she's chewing? Anybody want to give me what do you notice about her eyes when she chews? They open or closed?
Very much closed.
Very much closed, because when Lucille is into tasting and chewing, that's all she can handle. It's too much data to have your eyes open and to be listening to somebody while you're chewing. So while she's eating, it's taking everything her brain has to sort of chew this up and swallow it. So being able to visually be present isn't very helpful. So I had a speech therapist recently who said, oh, wow. You know, what I tell staff is if the eyes aren't open, then you can't give them another bite of food. And it's like, I'm not sure about that. Let's close your eyes. And I just had her with me. Let me try giving you a bite of food with your eyes open and your eyes closed. What do you think? And she goes, oh, I can eat just fine with my eyes closed. I guess that doesn't mean you're sleeping. It just means your eyes are closed. And it's like, yeah. But what had happened is her speech training in that moment kicked in, and she was going, well, you have to have people alert and aroused. And it's like, absolutely agree with that. But there are ways to determine that are more than just, can you see eye color? It's, you know, do they seem to be responding to the stimulus that you've given them, which is the food? So go ahead back to the video and let's watch again a little bit. And you'll get to see her side profile, what I've done to her to make sure she's sitting a little more upright in a safer swallow position.
That's pretty easy once I know what it is.
Now she has a punching pattern.
Here you go.
Wow.
Isn't that fun?
Oh my.
Both of you are going to have a better time. And what I'm doing is supporting under her elbow. And so that gives her a little added information. And when I do that, she can sit upright a little bit better too. And I can judge.
Is this not amazing?
Pause.
I get through.
What you might have noticed, what did you notice right before that spoon? What did Lucille do right before the spoon? Mandy, you're right there. She did open her mouth. Right before she opened her mouth, what'd she do? You're not sure. Corey, can you back it up a tiny bit without losing your place?
One is supporting under her elbow.
Follow.
And so that gives her a little added information. And when I do that, she can sit upright a little bit better too. And I can judge.
Is this not amazing?
Right before
I get through.
she knew the bite was there. And so she did a quick swallow and then opened her mouth. So what made her swallow was that the spoon was ready and her brain goes, well, I got to empty out what's in there. So instead of pocketing or hanging on to the food and not swallowing, the spoon, her hand bringing the spoon to her mouth along with mine is what gave her brain the signal, I need to swallow what I have in my mouth. There's another spoonful coming. And she did a very brisk swallow. And if you watch her chew, watch the up and down only. She doesn't grind her food. She munches her food. But when she munches, sometimes the lips open a little. But she's pretty consistent with the rhythm of it. So go ahead again. She's got a nice rhythm to the chew.
Added information. And when I do that, she can sit upright a little bit better too. And I can judge.
Is this not amazing? I get thrilled when I learn something new.
Isn't that fun? Yeah. We're going to try the same thing with Miss Frances a minute and see if she's okay with it. See if she likes it. She eats fine right now, but time will come.
Pause.
Is it good, Lucille?
What did she just do? What did you notice her do there? This is a woman who everybody was pretty sure she's not. The family even said, "I'm not sure my mom's even in there anymore." I mean, I don't even know she's there. What did this woman just do, who doesn't have any language, can't speak, hasn't spoken in a long, long time? When I turned my body and my head to look at somebody, and then I said we would help her in a minute, what did she do? She'd been eating, but all of a sudden, what happened?
Stop to check out, see who Francis was.
She was looking up there to see who we gonna do this on. And she got that little moment of curiosity about the world around her, and then her eyes close again. But notice this whole time through, and what I will tell you is within 20 minutes, she had finished that entire bowl of food and had a glass of juice to drink. So for her, at least in this moment, was it that she wasn't hungry and she wasn't willing to eat, or is that she didn't understand what people were trying to do with her? And that she thought they were trying to do something she wouldn't like rather than help her do a thing that was familiar to her.
But how remarkable. That's an older video, but I love it because here we have an individual that the family even determined we don't even think mom's in there anymore. But you know, it was made clear that she was indeed hungry. She just didn't understand what you're trying to make her do, by poking spoons at her, poking and poking in her mouth. And so she's dodging, and she's in defense mode, and the fist will come up. And, if you aggravate somebody long enough, they might use foul language and become aggressive. I was at a training session today trying to explain that to the community staff, actually to the director, who wanted to just say, yeah, but they have behaviors. And I said, behaviors, pause. What does that even mean? We're not communicating, or we don't understand what they're trying to communicate. Because if all they have are the emergency words, I've said that to you before, and they're just using their cuss words, but that's all they have. I bet they're trying to tell you they have pain, fear, anxiety, but we're just not understanding. Well, sometimes we're trying to do to them instead of with them, and it doesn't work right. It fails. So, later in the disease, depending on the personality of the person, how long they live, or what actual disease is plaguing their brain, you can go through another stage, amber stage, and you can be very touchy feely. And we think about hand under hand again, because if you just handshake somebody who maybe doesn't get a lot of physical touch, they can squeeze down hard on your hand. And you're like, yeah, and it's hard to get your hand away. The cool thing about hand under hand, when I come in to do a regular handshake, I tip up like we're going to do the cool handshake, right? The cool handshake. And then I turn and let you be on top so you feel like you're in control. You can squeeze my hand as hard as you want. It's not going to hurt me. I mean, unless you have arthritis or something, but it's not going to hurt me. So we can give each other signals of strong physical touch. If your brain's wandering and you're looking away from me, I can squeeze your hand in that hand under hand, and it makes you kind of think, what's going on? And you might look down at those hands and track my arm back up to my face. I'm like, hey, and I didn't have to say, hey, you, or over here, or you who, or anything. Just gave you a little nudge in the hand under hand, gave you a little squeeze. We were communicating with that touch, with that physical touch. Physical touch can be something that then can go to an extreme in people living with brain failure. And sometimes you're next to them and I'm trying to help you do something, but you see shiny things or maybe things that are off limits, right? But your brain maybe doesn't know where boundaries are, and you don't understand anything's off limits. And so there are great techniques Teepa teaches about how to use hand under hand and a type of a boundary with your body to still care for somebody who's in that stage or state and still be able to have a great time with them, but position yourself to win and position the patient to win, like not bending over in front of them with all of this showing and expect them maybe not to reach out and help themselves to something that's off limits. Does that make sense? Okay, let me show you one more video. So this is a little further down the road, maybe with someone who's not communicating well, but Teepa just gives this great example. So I am going to share my screen again. We're going to go full screen.
Everybody, it's Teepa and Beth. Yes, and we're going to demonstrate for you the use of hand under hand to establish and maintain boundaries. Particularly, this is sort of important when you have somebody who's in an amber state and in a lot of seeking behaviors. Because when you're in an amber state and you seek, you can seek with your eyes, but if your eyes make contact, the next thing that's going to happen, almost universally, is the touching. And so if she starts touching this, then she'll start feeling what she feels, and then it gets really interesting. And so this is where a lot of people get really uncomfortable and nervous. And even if I'm not, unfortunately, I'm not the only person Beth's going to run into. So even if it's not me, it could be somebody else. So what I'm going to do is, as she starts to do the reaching behavior, she shows me with her eyes what she's interested in. I'm going to work with hand under hand, and we'll see what happens, because we haven't tried it yet. I just said we're going to work on boundaries and touching, and Beth is like, okay, I'm in. And we're an amber state, and she's a seeker. So we have fright, flight, fight, hide, or seek. And Beth is into seek mode. And so if I go into hide mode, all that means is Beth is going to seek harder because she wants to seek and I want to hide. Not a good combo. So I'm not going to do a hide. I'm going to give her something to find, and then I'm going to see if I can modify that. And you're going to see me possibly use one hand with the other for gesturing or offer opportunities, or I might go into double hand under hand, but I'm not using it to restrict. I'm using it to define the boundaries. So let's see what I do. So Beth starts to do the reach, and I go, Beth Nolan. Oh, yeah. Me. Yeah. Hey, Beth. Yeah. Tell you what, come this way. Yeah. Oh, yeah. There you go. Oh, good job. Now, at this point, what I've got is, this actually is a boundary mark. I've got my forearm and her forearm. My forearm is here. If I reach over into this space, given what I've seen so far, yeah, I'm going to have to get ready for a lot more touching. And then if I get to the front and she makes eye contact, then I've got to get you ready for the face touching. So this is where, if I'm in this position and I want to show her something, I will literally take my shoulder and rock it into her. Because what I'm saying is, oh, we're already connected. And now I'm going to, look at that. And I'm going to put things in her range, and I will shift out of her range. Yeah, cheers. Here you go. Yeah, cheers. Now, what I did is I just lifted this up for a second to say, yours, mine. That's all it was just a yours, mine. You have one, I have one, cheers. Yeah, because it was over her way, but I don't want to emphasize that. So if I want her to do things, I put things in this zone. And I'll show you, if you look down, we've actually established sort of a surface here for Beth. This is where Beth's space is. And this is where potentially putting out like a placemat or something might be helpful. Might not. She might just pick it up and mess with it. I won't know until I start. So if Beth starts again, she decides on something interesting. Hey. I'm gonna go down. I don't know how quickly you noticed it, but when I went, hey, we're gonna go. And so immediately I'm using this side of my body as sort of a boundary marker. I'm using it as a guide, but it's really awkward. Beth, turn toward me. I mean, yeah. If you turn toward me, what's there? Well, it's not you, it's not me. Because I've actually arranged to be here for her but this is the thing I'm going to use to guide and direct. And I just happen to be present with, ooh, check that out. Oh,
Now, see,
and then this. Oh, look
See,
at you.
look.
Oh, wow. Now, can you do it?
Now there's,
No? Huh. Here, let's see here. You got it? Yeah, yeah. Let's see. Oh, no, wait, it's stuck. Oh, there it goes.
see.
Yeah. Here you go.
Oh,
Now,
there.
what do you notice I'm being super careful of, Beth? What can you tell them I'm being really careful of?
You're not taking it from.
I'm not. Am I moving into your, like, am I
No.
doing this?
The concentration was, there was enough going on with your hands.
Yeah,
with
and my
thing.
fingers moved in, but my fingers only. So one of the biggest mistakes we make, I'm back here on the side of your arm.
Each time,
Yeah.
when you were here,
Uh-huh.
the first thing that touched was forearm.
Was there.
And
Yeah.
it shoved into my side as
Yeah.
well.
And that's that recognition of that's yours, this is mine. I'm over here out of your space. If you're doing something over there and I gesture to it, that's okay. If I choose to move here, what I've said is, and I would like to be part of your work. And it's like, yeah, I really wasn't looking for that. And that's the biggest mistake we make is if I do cue, I've got to cue way far out. You've got something, hey, Beth, right there. And again, where do you notice my body goes immediately? Over here. Back out of the zone. So my hand was here. I gave the cue, then I backed up. You got it. Nice. And over here on this side, much stronger cue to her to do something. And this time I'm using my right hand and my left is available as a boundary marker. I'm still present with her here because I've got to use my right more as that boundary. So if I'm helping her here, let's say I'm here and I'm doing this here and she's sitting. So we'll readjust here for a minute and we'll switch out camera just a little bit low. Actually, we'll do what we can. So Beth is here. And let's say I'm doing something with her feet and legs. One of the mistakes that we make is we lean in and down. And now, oh boy, I've got stuff going on up there.
See, now this is,
Yeah, that is. And so, yeah,
you've
got something really tight there.
yeah,
With this up
yeah.
here, yeah, that needs to be tighter. I see. You're absolutely right. Hey, Beth,
yeah.
look down here. And right down here. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And when you're doing that with the lotion, yeah, here you go. Let's put some lotion on. And now you do it. And again, as Beth moves into this field, I'm back in this field. And so whether it's hand under hand giving that boundary marker, or whether it's my body indicating boundary marker, I'm establishing if I want Beth to do something, if I move into this zone, visual field, I'm giving her permission to put her hands on me. And that's not my intent maybe, but that's what I'm saying. So the boundary marker I'm establishing is I give her the side of my body, which is a lot less interesting, frankly.
Together.
Yeah, we're together. And yet I'm with her and I'm willing to lean into her a little bit if she likes that kind of contact. Yeah. And I always have ooh or ah because she's a seeker. So finding out, are your person more of a hider, a seeker, a fright, flight, fight? What goes on for them, whether it's joy and pleasure or whether it's discomfort. But Beth is really comfortable with me putting body on. What she may not like as much is that.
Okay.
That's not okay. Just like it isn't okay for some of us. So what I want to do is figure out how to create that sense of boundary, but yet be very present. And the reason I have to be very present is she needs my support. She needs my skill. She might need me to help do some things, but this is where a tiny bit is enough for Beth to frequently get it. Now, if it's more than that, I have to be prepared that if I'm doing a lot of touching on Beth, I've got to give her stuff to touch. So if I'm having this and she needs to touch, I've got to be ready. Oh, thank you. That's wonderful. Here. And I can try to see if I can engage her down here. Here, you do it. Because what I did is I established the sensory pattern. Here's the boundary. You're doing your own legs. I'm giving it to you, and then I take your hands and place them where I just did it. And I'm trying to trigger in your own brain, do this thing that you just felt. And so I'm filling in half the equation. Can she fill in the other half? And again, I think some of the things that we're talking about are not intuitive. People don't think about that stuff. They don't process it that way. And it matters. It turns out it matters. If I have something that draws her eye and I have it on here, what I've basically issued is an invitation. And so, yeah, you liking that. Yeah, that's really pretty. Now you. Now, and again, what I'm doing with my other hand is keeping her shoulder forward, which keeps her head forward, which keeps her from noticing my necklace again until I slip it down in and realize I need to quit wearing stuff that draws her eye. Because if I keep doing it, she'll keep doing it, not because she's trying to irritate me, but because I keep drawing her eye.
All right. Back to StreamYard. All right, everybody. I think that was incredible. You know, we get so frustrated sometimes not understanding why people with dementia, they don't have boundaries. They think they can grab at you and grab your jewelry and grab at parts of your body that aren't supposed to be grabbed by other people. And that the only thing to do is medicate that or, no, 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 or, to be condescending, treat them like a child. And I just want to say, hit the pause button. There are some great techniques out there if you're willing to learn. And Teepa Snow is one of the experts in the world. She has so much to offer. And that's why I look to her for all kinds of training. So I hope you enjoyed that today. Um, there's plenty more to learn, and that's something I can help you with hand under hand technique. I've made my own videos on it, but I just wanted you to see it from the expert today. And so whether you're trying to feed someone, wash their face, brush their hair, brush their teeth, or you have someone in that stage where they're very touchy-feely and we want to have control and boundary with that. Hand under hand is an amazing, amazing technique that I could teach you or we could learn together. So again, I'm Teresa Youngstrom. I hope this was helpful for you. And if your person that you love on is in this stage, there's so much we can learn. And the coolest thing is that frequently once we start doing this with them, they sometimes take the brush out of your hand and do it themselves, or take that washcloth, or, they want to then do it themselves. It's almost like you have gotten that gear rolling again in their brain from their arm up to their brain. And then they want to do it again themselves. It's very cool. So I'm Teresa Youngstrom. This is Memory Care with Teresa Youngstrom. I hope that you'll check out the rest of our podcast. There, gosh, more than 30 there for you to check out and learn from. Sometimes me teaching, sometimes with a great speaker that I'm interviewing, so that you can have more and more great information on how to give better care with folks whose brains are not doing so well. Okay? Just keep in mind, you got this.